Hello guys and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be covering what if Spain formed an empire. Spain has formed an empire in history. You probably all know that. So this is their second, it's their second, I think, chance at it. I'm not sure. I know some of Spanish history, like they had to divide and reconquer or something like that. I could be way off. I'm not an expert on Spanish history. Anyways, let's just get into it. Also, you could recommend a country that you want to form an empire besides France. I'm not doing France because why should we give anything to France? But anyways, I also have done 14 other episodes of countries forming their empires. There's a playlist on the channel if you want to watch them. And let's get into it. Spain needs to start expanding. And who else to invade than France? Yeah. There is a strategical reason for this, besides me hating France. They're going to use the mountains to their advantage by pushing on in. Yep, you heard me right. I'm pretty sure there's mountains there. If not, I look very stupid. And they just use it to their advantage. Eventually they go and get the coast. And while French forces are down here, the Spanish will get a little bit more of a boost. When the French forces are all the way down here, that's when the Germans strike and start their invasion of France. They won't get too far though, because, the French are still a pretty strong country. You can mess with them if it's one of my episodes, but IRL, I'd say it's actually quite hard to bully France around. And also NATO and all that. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it. But eventually, the Germans would do some significant damage along with the Spanish. And, really their goal now is to capture Paris, which I believe would be the Germans' main goal here. And given that they captured it many times before, I feel like they should be the ones to get it. The occupation lines look like this, but we need to redraw this. We need to negotiate the border a little bit so that it looks better. There we have. We're gonna call this one the negotiation line. So, there we go. Germany. Congratulations, you got something from this video. It doesn't look that bad, although it does look bad without them having Benelux. I need to get over my thing of making an awful map. Anyway, Spain will now be focusing on pushing down the French revolts, which would happen. And, yeah, with the French revolts happening and getting put down, they would eventually assimilate them all. And now they are gonna get ready for a land war. And this is just like a 2-in-1 war. Spain declares war on Portugal, the British get involved, the Germans get involved on the side of Spain, and Germany's gonna attack Benelux, I guess, because I want them to. And plus they'd probably do it if they're gonna be expansionist as well. Anyways, let's get into it. With a lot of Spanish troops on the border of Portugal, they would start pushing in. The country wouldn't fall too fast though, this would take a long while, and they're still holding out. Over here in this part of Europe, Belgium, and the Netherlands, in fact, all of the Benelux would just get absolutely kicked out, or they get their faces kicked in by the Germans and some Spanish troops, although they're mostly concentrated down here. And I'd say that British reinforcements would have arrived, giving the Spanish a little bit of a tougher time. Although with the German troops coming down, they would have then eventually managed to capture all of Portugal. And now it's basically just the British versus, well, Western Europe, pretty much. Which I don't feel like they'd want to do. So, but they still wouldn't. I don't think they would surrender in this case, even though our odds are so bad. So we're gonna have a continued war. There's a lot of favoritism, and Spain will be buffed for this video if you didn't know already. But the Germans and the Spanish would start making landings. This is very unrealistic, but maybe with the combined military or navies, they could manage to get at least a drop in. But we're going to assume that they flooded a load of men here. London's probably I think there's right there. London is on the urge of being forced to collapse. This is shocking the entire world, by the way. London just does not collapse. It is surprising that they even got on the mainland. They'll get pushed back a little bit, but not too much. And here's where rebellions start happening. First in Northern Ireland, then I'd say some in Scotland. Because yes, the UK can be unified at times, but I feel like now's the time where the independence people probably want, independence. So they feel like, once the country falls down, they might be able to get their independence. And, yeah, the British will collapse, and we will discuss the peace deal soon. We will see that Spain will get to annex Portugal. Pretty nice. The Germans would annex all of Benelux, but it will make the border look nicer, and plus, they did just flat out win the war. They aren't meanies, so they're going to try to keep somewhat of... They want to keep the United Kingdom somewhat intact, but Northern Ireland definitely goes back to regular Ireland. It just makes sense. And after all, the Scottish did help them win the war, so they will get independent. Beyond that, the United Kingdom still technically exists, just not that strongly though. Now Spain is like the dominant power in Europe. If you thought it was Germany, well, now it's Spain, you know. They could even be like comparing to Russia here. They have loads of men here, and they'd be eager to go to war with, well, Africa this time. Morocco is gonna have a bad time. We now know that the Spanish military is not messing around, as they defeated the British, but even though they had help from the Germans, they still did it, and it's a pretty impressive feat. Anyways, Morocco isn't as strong as Britain, not even close. They then invade Western Sahara because they think it's a part of Morocco. I don't want to get into that debate. I think it's an independent country. You tell me what you think, I guess. But it's obviously a part of Spain now. And boom, Spain is now absolutely huge. I forgot to mention that. Oh yeah, that goes to Spain as well. Now with Spain owning a lot of land here, I feel like they'd tone it down a bit before expanding. But, you know, there's still two easy neighbors in South America. So, they decide it's wartime, and they'd start going and obliterating these two countries in South America. Yeah. And bam! Spain is even now larger than they could ever wish. But, they are now going to try to take on Africa. Well, not the whole continent, but a large part of it. This is where it becomes like a whole world war. Spain and Germany are trying to go after a large part of Africa. I bet even Egypt would get involved, potentially. I guess Italy would get involved to crush them. I guess this part, Eastern Europe, would most likely want to stop the Germans before they invade them. I feel like the Irish would join in on the side of the red team, although I don't feel like they join in at all, so I guess we're going to leave them out for now. Brazil and Venezuela would work together and declare war as well. But that brings Argentina into the war as well, though. Now, let's get into the war. With the Spanish already having troops in Africa, they would try to push it out and down, trying to, you know, make people very thirsty to the point where they would die of thirst. And, that's war crimes. So, that's how you know this war is serious. There's literal war crimes, although that's literally what, well, not exactly what Israel's doing, but Israel's doing war crimes right now. They might as well be doing some too, I guess. Yeah. Algeria and Tunisia would probably fall here, let's be honest with ourselves. They're not going to be surviving for much long. Then redirect their troops down at, was this Mauritania? I suck at Africa, my bad, guys. Anyways, Mauritania would then fall, and with all these troops and a very weak country, they wouldn't stand a chance as they get absolutely obliterated. So now with all these forces, they would try and take down the rest of Africa, but eventually Egypt would hold them off. Which is good, because now we have to focus on the European part of the war happened. Anyways, the Germans already knew that this was going to happen, so they would probably try and take the Sudetenland and go into Austria. Although the Sudetenland is technically a made-up place, they'd still claim it. They'd then go into Poland a little bit, although it's not their main objective, and I don't feel like they'd be able to do too much here, because remember, Germany's military is still technically offensive. I guess it could be a switch towards attack on this one, but they're not the most capable power right now, so I doubt they'd be in this timeline either. But either way, Spain would start the invasion of Italy, and let's just say some people aren't happy in Italy themselves. So it's basically like a repeat of World War II in Italy, besides they didn't do anything significant, or at least try anything significant here. But Italy falls, and as well as a lot of troops are getting put into the front in Europe. These are some good fighting troops. There's some great generals here that eventually managed to get the Czech Republic, or Czechia, knocked out. But here is where the stalemate will be reached, as all these countries would now be able to hold out. Down in Africa, Libya would definitely fall here, and Egypt is starting to get invaded. I seriously doubt that Egypt could last too long here, but I feel like they'd still manage to live for a little bit longer until, you know, Israel joins, and then they mess up everything. Might as well invade them. That's Israel for you, but this is just how we're gonna have it. And Israel would force Egypt to surrender and back into Europe, with the rest of the troops being forced into Hungary. They'd eventually manage to do a little flank onto Poland, needing them to spread out their troops, and when they spread out their troops, they get invaded more, and eventually Warsaw would get captured and Poland would be forced to surrender, which would put an end to the war. Besides, for South America, I forgot about South America. Dang it. Anyways, let's cover South America now. Spanish would hold out good against Venezuela, I'd say. But now Brazil is in the war. I'd have to say that maybe Brazil is incompetent in this timeline, which allows Argentina to get some sweeping victories. Maybe Chainsaw Guy is actually really great at military stuff. Either way, they're doing a giant sweep into Brazil. Spanish would take an advantage of this and manage to capitulate or knock out Venezuela. They try to invade the Amazon, but that doesn't work. They'd start a naval invasion here and try to go around the coast here. But I feel like, the Brazilians already know what's going to happen. It's going to be saving a few lives if they surrender here. Now, for the final peace deal, what does Spain get? What does Spain get from this war? We see that a compromise line would be agreed to. Spain gets everything along this line in Africa, which includes taking some bites out of some pretty poor countries, which, not a good idea for poor countries. Their situation's only getting worse. Tunisia's collapsing probably right now. But anyway, Spain decided that that's the border, so it's the border now, I guess. Israel gets nothing because they don't deserve anything. Spain would gain some land from Italy, just minor territories. I guess this is huge territories for Italy right now, but it's minor compared to, Spain. Germany would get some old historical land, then some. But they can't annex everything in Eastern Europe. That is for the unrealistic balance here. Yeah, I don't see why they'd go for balance here, considering they just obliterated everybody. But hey, I guess that's the realism for the episode. Anyways, this is Spain at its greatest. I don't think they're going to get too much from South America. They're just going to declare that a draw. Anyways, if you guys liked this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you really liked it, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.